All right, on today's show, it's going to be us answering your questions. We're going to go over listing presentations, formal and informal, which one's better, getting leads, and what does that even mean? And we're going to talk about hiring admin and the horror stories that we've had doing that. And so we're going to start that right now.
Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
What's up, everyone? Good show today.
You know that it's just a totally us whenever my wife texts me at 3:05 and she's like, "Are you guys not doing the podcast today?" I was like,
There's nothing holding us
"Nope, we're just late as usual."
Yeah, this one's our fault. We got here a little bit late today. So if you're tuning in live, leave us a comment down below. Hit the type the L button. Let us know that you're alive and not dead. If you have yet to join our Facebook group, you can go join our Facebook group, the only real estate group worth being a part of. And also, this is brought to you by Tor Academy.
Tor Academy.
TORE Academy.com.
Love it.
So if you haven't gone and checked that out, go check it out right now.
We all need to applaud Nick for his first ever perfect execution and dismount on the name of our group.
Yeah.
The only so good.
But I did ask.
10,000 hours to mastery.
That's right. I did ask.
Episode 21.
Before this.
It's true. Yeah. You had a crutch. You asked me 2 minutes before the show. What's the group called again? I only posted it every day.
Yeah. I mean, dude, we're getting some good engagement in there. I don't know if you're not in the group, you need to go check it out. The only real estate group worth being a part of. We had a good post in there yesterday with that. My brother Austin.
Oh gosh.
Got a nice letter back from a gentleman on one of our investment postcards who decided to tell him that he needs to go back in time and kill our parents and then kill himself so that we can end that bloodline.
Oh, man.
And also, he's Austin No Good Peckerwood. Austin Peckerwood No Good.
Which didn't even... He should have been No Good Pecker, I would have thought.
Yeah.
I just like that he wants to go back and erase your lineage completely. Right. He's like a Roman emperor. He just wants to go back and erase the line of good.
See, me being the positive, mindset guy that I am, I want to have respect for people like that, because what I foresee when things like that happen is sort of something I aspire to, and that is to become so wealthy in my life that I have no other obligations, and all I can do all day is just sit and respond to junk mail I receive and come up with more and more elaborate responses. I got so many billionaire ideas, guys. When I become a billionaire, I'm gonna be unleashing just destruction on the world. Very, very subtly, mostly passive aggressive. I got this other bit where I find single women in their 30s and 40s and I send secret admirer flowers to their office.
That's been done.
But I don't tell them who it's coming from. And then I make it more and more I'm hinting at who it's coming from, but I just never tell them. And this goes on for years. And at the beginning, they're very excited. And 5 years in, they're just tearing their hair out because they can't figure out who's basically harassing them at this point. And then they just get sadder and sadder. And it's really mean. I get it.
It's weirdly the most sadistic thing.
It's really, really mean. I get it.
All of your bits feel like they either came from Parks and Rec or The Office.
Oh, yeah. And then I'm just back in my mansion just laughing my ass off.
But how do you get to see this? Is this going to be on video? Is this a reality show?
I'm going to have a whole team of people that are going to be spying for me and giving me reaction shots and stuff. I'm just going to be back in my ivory tower just laughing till the day's end.
Interesting.
So I'm searching for a new business partner.
Right.
If anybody's looking.
all the mean, underhanded things I'm doing to
Give
people.
This guy too much money.
Right.
So before we go into covering your questions today, and if you have any questions you want to throw in last minute, we are watching the comments live today. But I did not know that you could just ask people to stop sending you snail mail with a cease and desist. That's what that letter was. It was a handwritten cease and desist, and then he put it wasn't that was typed, and then he put P.S. handwritten, and then he decided to go in and say, please kill yourself and kill your mom and dad.
He printed it out before he was really done. He printed it out and he was like, you know what? I got more to say. I'm glad I left half the page blank. Also, there was a typo in the original cease and desist
letter,
which
first thing he
cracked me
noticed.
up. my English degree going to good use there.
What I will do is I did not post the actual postcard, and I'm going to leave that for next because there's a nice drawing on it next to Austin's photo with a gun on it. And he decided to also handwrite on the postcard. So I will post that later today. I didn't want to do it all at once, right? I needed to leave some more in there.
Yeah, over time.
So we're covering your questions today. So, when you join the only real estate group worth being a part of, we typically introduce new members almost every Monday, and we ask, where you're from and what are you struggling with in your business. And we got a lot of response, and one thing that came up that someone had posted about listing presentations. Right. And, the person that posted this said that they were considering, should they update their presentation because they're using a dated one. And, we kind of vary here on how a listing presentation goes. So, which one's better, a formal or informal presentation?
So this is going to be one of the first times in only real estate podcast history where we starkly disagree, I think, right? Because I know you don't really have one at all.
I think we all do this completely differently.
Yeah. You guys are just so charming. You don't need a listing presentation. I think, and my best advice in reality, or just actionable advice is whatever, and this is nothing against brokers or anything like that, don't use what your broker provides. Reason being, especially if you work for a very, very big, worldwide type company, that's very commodity, right? Like it's very much a commodity. The stuff that your broker provides, you get into business to have a unique value proposition, right? We talk about that's part of the first thing you come up with, your unique value proposition, right? And so if your unique value proposition is just the exact same thing that everybody else in your brokerage has, it's not very unique. And so that might be a good starting point. I wouldn't say just don't use it at all. Use it for influence. And that's part of building a real estate business, right? It's not all just experience and number of transactions that are going to get you deals. It's your unique value proposition. What do you bring to the table that either other people don't do at a high level or don't do at all or whatever, and you need to craft your presentation around that. My personal belief is that your listing presentation, my listing presentation, our listing presentation that we use for our team, I think is the most valuable piece of intellectual property that we have, right? Because I think that what you do to get at bats is pretty static, right? You set up marketing funnels, you set up pipelines, you prospect your butt off, you do all those things to get in the door. What happens on the other side of that door is very unique to you. And so I think that that's probably one of the most valuable things that we have is our marketing plan that really, it's very straightforward. It's about 28 to 30 pages long, and it just step by step walks the seller through what it is that we do marketing wise, what we're going to do to sell their home, the whole process, all that type of stuff. We really, really like that. And I will go ahead, go a step further. What I think is unique and really good about ours is that it takes no explanation whatsoever. Now, we use it as a guide, and I'm sure Matt will speak to this. We use it as a guide for the actual appointment, for the conversation that we're going to have with the seller. What I think is really differentiates ours and what is really, really important about ours is that we don't actually need to walk you through it for you to get it. It's not just a bunch of graphics. It's not just a bunch of charts or bullet points. It is something that I can pick up and read word for word, and I will know everything about what we do to get homes sold. So we've taken a lot of time to craft ours, and I think it really pays off.
Yeah, and I would say ours really serves two purposes, and I think especially for teams, that's probably what it needs to do. A new agent could walk into an appointment, and if they've taken the time to read through it previously, they're going to do okay. They're going to have some bullet points to go through. Plus, like you said, they can just stop down and almost read it word for word, as long as they don't sound like a robot. For me, what it's done is it's up my ability and my credibility in the appointment. For years, I did listing appointments without one. Various levels of success. I would not say a ton of success doing it that way. Now that I have a good listing presentation, it gives me the framework, to keep me on track so I don't get too scattered. It also allows me to give something to go back to when they ask questions. I can thumb back to a point that we brought up earlier, maybe show them a stat or point out something that helps solidify the opinion. Really what it does is it allows me to not have an unanswerable question in the appointment, and it lends credibility to my intelligence and my ability to get their home sold. I think that's what it does more than anything. I would say 95% of the agents I know don't go in the appointment with one, or if they do, they're too scared to break that son of a bitch out. Right. Because they're afraid they're going to get called out on some stuff that's in there, so they'd rather just not show you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And it's a lot of fluff. So I'm on the standpoint of we don't do a listing presentation, right? So a true formal one. Mm-hmm. And trust me, I've had one. I have one that has old stats in there from, I think, 2013. old photos. It's like my glamour shot photos from back in the day.
Your pre-beard photos?
Yeah, back
Pre-beard.
before you wore the good home team shirts everywhere.
That's
you
right.
used to wear suits.
Yeah. And with that, I noticed that when I went to a formal listing presentation,
Right.
and I'll explain what that means in a minute, my conversion rate went up. So I'm very much, I have a little bit of, I'm more like a Brian Force type in terms of I'm very logical way of thinking and less emotional, but I have a way to tap into my emotional way of thought the way, Matt Kelderman does. And with that is when I got away from our presentation, right? Because I noticed that when you do a presentation, people start zoning out. If they're ADD or if they got a lot of things going on that day, they're like, oh yeah, it sounds great. I'm going through I'm going through everything here. So how does that sound? Sounds good. All right, you ready to sign? Well, no, we're going to think about it. Right. And so the way that I've designed mine, and it's worked for brand new agents as long as they come and follow and shadow, and that's the biggest thing, is I take people through a journey. And, the first thing I do when I go to the house, I have them take me on the tour. I want to see and hear how they kind of explain their house. And I get an idea kind of their personality style. If they take me through a long tour and explain everything, all right, they're very attached to this house, right? The high Ds, here's a bedroom, yep, blah, 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 blah. All right, let's go ahead and get this on. And from there, what we do is my kryptonite is a standing presentation or sitting at the couch. I hate that shit. Right?
The couch doesn't work for tall guys because your knees are always up too high and you just look ridiculous.
Then my legs go to sleep and I'm changing around too much. And so I've gotten, now I make sure to always say, all right, is it okay if we sit here? Which is usually at the table. And then I go through, before I get started, I reanalyze everything they told me on the phone, right? And you should, before you got out there, ask qualification questions, which we can teach you on how to do, to set you up for better success when you're already going out there. You already should know the probability of them signing with you before you even get out there. And, at the very beginning, I say, tell me again where you're going. You're wanting to, get out of this house, move to somewhere. And tell me, what are you looking for in the agent you're going to hire today? Right? They just gave me everything I needed to know. And sometimes when they have their walls up is when I know that they're just playing hard to get. Right? So then I'll rephrase the question in a different manner to get the answer I'm looking for, so I can best direct how my next step's going to be. Right? We do have a TGHT folder that has the CMA in it, that has the market trends in it. And then the biggest thing is we just have our team resume that just talks about how many homes that we've sold in the last 12 months, the list to sales price ratio, and the average days on market. Right? And so we say, look, we're going to show you the good, the bad, the ugly of what we do. Right? There's going to be some things that other people may sound as sexy, and it's not going to do anything. Right, so I want to find out what is the most important thing to that homeowner at that time. And then I'm gonna focus on that part.
I think that goes back to whether you use a formal listing presentation or not. What all of us are getting at is you have to do what makes you comfortable and what makes you your best self, right? I use a formal listing presentation in the exact same way that you use an informal one, right? I don't just read off of it. I like just having something that I can lead behind. But we were on a call with Adam Hergenrother yesterday. He said something really poignant that stuck with me. And that was basically, you earn the right to become yourself, right? And what that means is like, Nick used to be like this as well, and I was like this for a long time. Like, I was super, super, super buttoned up. Like, you would not see me on an appointment without a 3-piece suit on, right? I just thought that that's how I needed to look all the time. And a lot of it was because I was still getting comfortable in my own shoes, just as far as just interacting with prospects and being comfortable and having that confidence and all that type of stuff. Nowadays, I feel like I have earned the right, and I still dress nice. I'll wear a nice polo and slacks and all that type of stuff. But I actually feel like there are times when wearing a super nice suit to an appointment actually works against me because it makes me look like a salesman, you know, in a lot of ways. And so that's just sort of a visual manifestation of being really, really comfortable in your own skin. And a lot of that is just getting the reps in. So whether you use a listing presentation or not, whether you choose to use a formal one or not, it's really more about how good is your ability to present. And that's what's huge. And that just comes over time. So the biggest thing is you've got to earn your right to be your best self in the appointment, whatever that means.
And if you can't, if you're not at a place in your real estate or your I don't know, presentation career where you can't feel the tone of the appointment change. Nick was talking about those standoffish people. I actually prefer those ones more than anything else because I feel like those are the people I can read the best. I read those people really, really well as they turn the corner into realizing, because you guys have seen how I go on appointments. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there are a lot of people who watch this show and that are in our group that would probably look at that and be like, that's not how you go on an appointment. I will go in polo shorts and boat shoes.
Yep.
And I mean, and it works. I've never had any, I will tell you, I've not lost enough business that I've shown up in to be convinced that people are not using me because of that. Right. They might not use me because I'm some level of jackass they don't want to deal with or whatever, right? Yeah. But it never feels like that's the reason they're not doing it. So, I just don't think. I think the confidence you exude in the appointment and your ability to navigate and stay nimble inside the conversation is going to do 90% of the work for you. That presentation is there to keep you in line more than anything else.
That's the biggest thing, right? So when I notice like my new agents, especially this is back when Elizabeth was our team leader and running the team and taking a lot of our agents on listing appointments or going with them, is that ability to read the other person where you're like, you ask them, how did it go? And they're like, oh, it went great. And Elizabeth's like, no, it didn't, right? and that's the biggest thing, right? Because what I'll do is if I'm talking to Brian and I'm really, I can get a sense that he's trying to, he's not really buying what I'm putting down, right? I'll just call it out. I say, look, it seems like there's a little hesitation here. Tell me what are the concerns, right? Because I want to leave here today making sure that if we're not going to sign the paperwork, that I want to make sure that any concerns that you have or doubts, that we cover those right now.
Yep.
Because what I don't want to do is call you and then you're like, oh, I listed with someone else, and they're actually inferior agent and they don't do the type of business that they say they do. Because too many times we run into agents that are puffing their chest out and saying they sell a shit ton more properties than they really do.
Yep.
And there's no way to really fact check them right now.
Yeah. Well, especially for the consumer, right? Like I think I've told this story on the show before, and a lot of this comes from the burned hand because I lost an $800,000 listing because I didn't talk about staging. It was something we offered. I didn't think the house needed it. It looked beautiful the way it was.
Yep.
We didn't bring it up. It came down to they were like, we really love both you guys. They said the word staging, and I was like, oh my God, house sold in 3 days.
Yeah.
And it's going to be what's way more important than your listing presentation is your ability to build rapport with people. People want to work with people that they like, and whether or not you have a formal listing presentation or not, that's part of just kind of earning that right to be yourself and be in your own shoes. I was on an appointment with one of our agents recently, and we did the presentation, all that type of stuff, and we were just chit-chatting or whatever, and I was like, what do you do for a living? He was like, I'm an accountant. I do like all the number crunching for this big company or whatever. I was like, wow, that sounds really boring. And he laughed and we had fun and we got the listing, right? And I think it was more because of those types of things, because he genuinely enjoyed having a conversation with us. He cared so much less about our formal listing presentation, right? Absolutely. So that's going to be way more key than whether you do a formal thing or not.
But the only way you're going to find out is what people didn't ask the question.
Yeah.
Is the only way you can do a listing presentation, a real one, is set listing appointments. Right? I mean, that's going to be the biggest thing. Like my trial and error is on multiple thousands of appointments from 2000 and really 9 on. That's really when we became listing heavy. And in the beginning, I'm going to tell you, I fumbled my way through. I did read off of a presentation book that I bought from a coaching company, and then we edited it to make it seem a little bit better. And then you just kind of develop your rhythm, right? And so the rhythm I have today is it's like riding a bike. So I can go and have a natural conversation, and I know which direction I want to take in it. But that's 10 years worth of doing.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to figure that out if you're not going on. If you're only going on 5 to 10 a year, and out of 10 listing appointments in a year, 7 of them are like friends and family.
Right.
That's not really a test.
Yeah.
Right? You need to go on ones that don't know you. So go run for sale minors, go run expired, circle prospect, door knock, get your way in and say, look, test this out, right?
Yeah.
Hey, actually, I just want to test out my listening presentation on you. I don't even care if you hire me.
That's okay.
Right?
You might go. Don't be afraid to fail, right? I can't remember what book it is. I think it's a Malcolm Gladwell something or other, and it's about the college professor that divides his class into two groups, right? And the first group, their whole grade is going to be determined on, they're going to make a pot or something at the end of this semester. Whoever makes the best pot, like the top 10% are getting A's, bottom, and B's and C's after that, right? But they only get one shot. The other group, they're going to get graded on how many pots they can make throughout the entire year. So the top 10% that makes the most pots, A, and then B, and then C, right? At the end of the year, who do you think made the better pots? The people that had all semester to focus on building one pot, or the ones that had to make pots every single day?
Absolutely.
Well, the people that made pots every day naturally had way better pots because they were doing it every damn day. And the first ones were probably pretty bad. With the other group, you were getting their first pot. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Right. So just go out there and fail. Don't get emotional about it. Don't be afraid to have some really bad listing presentations. It's going to happen.
Go ahead.
No, you.
I would say if I was to go back and run appointments with Matt Kelderman from 2013, I'd hate that guy.
I would love to see that guy.
I would love that. That guy would annoy me so much. I'd be like, you are the kind of real estate agent that I cannot stand. You don't know anything. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just like, yes, that is nice.
Yeah. Are we ready to sign?
Yeah, exactly.
And they hate you.
Oh, yeah,
right?
exactly.
No, you're repulsive, man.
Of course, I'll take your overpriced listing for less than anyone else.
You showed up
right?
in boat shoes.
I used to go all fancy.
So, and drop a comment down below if do you think how you dress matters in a listing appointment? Because I used to kind of think that way. I had a client that I didn't get the listing, and I was more button up, right? I wore button down and slacks to this one listing appointment. I think it was in Flower Mound, and he's like, "Well, the last guy showed up in a suit. Why are you not in a suit?" I said, "Well, I don't want to wear one."
Yeah.
Right. And now I show up in jeans, and sometimes if I get a kind of crazy hair, I'll change out my tennis shoes into to some nicer shoes, right? And I haven't really, the ones I've been on, I haven't really lost in a while.
Yeah. I mean, it matters to an extent, right? I don't go on appointments like this, right? But yeah, I used to wear the suits every single time, but it's more about being confident in exuding that confidence, right? In the words of the great Kenny Powers, I play real sports. I'm not trying to be the best at exercising, right? So what that means to me is if you're good at what you do, you should be compelling whether or not you're wearing a polo and slacks or a fancy custom suit.
And candidly, it feels kind of good because when they answer the door, you see them eyeball you from the top to your feet. They're like, "What is this guy?"
Yeah. Well, and so Kelly just put in here, I think older folks expect you to dress nicer, but agree that as long as you're business casual, it is totally fine. And I agree to an extent, but I will tell you, I mean, I sold one last year. In fact, I have a recording of it. The lady hung up on me originally, and I got her signed and everything. That's a cool one when they hang up and you call back and
they call right back.
No, I call right back.
Yeah.
Got disconnected.
And she was in her late 80s, and I showed up how I'm looking right now: jeans, TGHT polo, and tennis shoes.
Yeah.
And it's just again the connection. She started crying because that was their house had been in. They've raised their kids, and I'm just not seeing it. I'm starting to see the older generation starting to be okay with the younger generation, how they're accepting the way they dress and how they act, and know that, hey, as long as we get the job done, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
But let's kind of transition this into everyone's favorite topic, getting leads.
Oh, I thought you were going to say mindset.
That's not everyone's favorite topic. So, I mean, the number one way to pull people into any type of seminar or sales meeting is, hey, let me show you how to get more leads.
Yeah.
And we were kind of tossing this around yesterday in our prep show meeting. And what did you say?
I was like, what the hell does that even mean?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, so if we're going to talk about leads, and there's multiple people that are saying they're having trouble getting enough. And to me, that means that they're not doing enough to find the leads, right? There's ways. I could name probably 50 lead sources that are cheap.
Yep.
Sure. Or free.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of, we were talking about, It depends on what you're willing to give up too, right? I work a lot of referrals, so a lot of the transactions I do have referral fees on attached to them. So I'm rarely getting the full boat when at closing, which is totally fine. But there are tons of lead sources that Brian and I have used in our business, or that I've used as an individual when I was lead generating, that you pay the referral on the back end, that you can hone your skills. If you're really just not going to call people and not going to door knock, I think that's a mistake, right? But if you're not going to do that, there are plenty of lead sources that you can go out there and apply for to see if you can get referrals that you end up paying on the back end. You're going to give a big chunk of your money away.
Right.
But it's not like the Zillows and Realtor.coms where you got to fork over $1,000 up front. You can pay some of that on the back end. And then on top of it, I think there's a million free ways that we talk about in the office all the time. Most of the time when I hear that, I don't know where to get leads. And that's why I asked Nick, I was like, what the hell does that even mean?
Yeah.
They're literally laying everywhere. People just think that lead means somebody who's going to close in the next 30 days.
That's exactly right. And this is not to be mean to newer or inexperienced agents or people trying to grow their business. What I will say is that whenever I hear that question, what do you guys do for leads or this or that? Going back to mindset, you have the wrong mindset as far as that. Leads are never your problem. I'll tell you how to get leads. Okay, do open houses, prospect, pay for ads, whatever. Right? Yeah. I could name 50 more. All a lead is somebody who has gone like this and perked their eyebrow up a little bit when you've said something about real estate. Their contact information into your database, that's a lead. It might not be a tomorrow lead. It might be a 10 years from now lead. But if you're going to be in this business, you're going to have to get used to not every lead popping right away. What is a bigger deal, and this is where I'll do a shameless plug for Tour Academy, right? Every single course that we design, and every course that should be designed by people who actually want to help you grow your business, is not going to be about how to generate leads, right? I just filmed a 6-hour course, and I think the first 20 minutes of it were about how to generate leads. The rest of it was about how to build your ecosystem, your business, your follow-up, right? How to bring people into your world, to build that world, what it is, right? So whenever you fill out a form, whenever you have a conversation on a phone and get a secondary piece of contact information, whenever you come into contact some way, in person, over the phone, online, whatever, with your real estate brand, you are now in that world, that ecosystem, right? And we are going to continue to provide content, value, things that interest you and speak to you about real estate so that when you are ready, we are the ones that you come to, right? Yep. And we're going to follow up regularly, do all that type of stuff. But it's systematic, it's structured, it provides value, and it's ongoing for life, right? That's the bigger piece of the puzzle. That really is the entire puzzle. When it comes to lead generation, pick 2 or 3 strategies. I would say no more than 5. Stick with those. Focus way more on your follow-up. We could sit here all day and talk follow-up stories about people that have been in our system for years and finally come through. That's how you really build a consistent business. It's not about generating better leads, because better leads don't exist.
Well, it's again, one of my mentors when I first went over to Keller Williams in 2007, and the guy's no longer with us. He was a real estate coach, but what he left with me is like, most people don't have a lead issue.
Right.
You have a conversion issue, right?
100%.
So what we want to focus on, and I'll give a prime example. So today I'm making some phone calls with our agents this morning during our lead gen hour, our lead gen time, and I called a lady. She answered the phone, and she's like, "I'm not selling right now." I'm like, "Cool, I didn't ask the question."
Yeah.
And she hangs up.
Rude.
Yeah, I'm like, that's immediately what she started with. I'm like, whoa, calm down. I'm just calling to see how your day is. But so I call her back, and she actually answered, which was cool. And I said, look, I wasn't calling to see if you're ready to sell your house right now. You just inquired on our website. She's like, I had 30 calls just like you. I said, cool. I said, I understand, but I don't want to list your house right now. Right? And then she got into it. She's going on a family reunion in California, blah, blah, blah. And the process is how do we convert the people that you already have in your system, right? And you have a lead problem if you are only generating 5, 10, whatever,
right.
Or if you have a team and they're going through multiple times a day that lead list and going through everything. Now you have a conversion problem if you're generating enough leads and not converting at a high rate. Yep. Internet leads are 1 to 3%. 3%. 3%.
How many leads as an individual agent should you be generating a month to not have a lead problem?
25, really 25 max 50 a month.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot. Because when
That's a lot to keep in the pipeline.
Yeah, I mean, because you got to remember, it doesn't sound like a lot because everyone's like 25. That's not that much, But you got to remember, when you're getting a hold of these people, you got follow up. You got to text them. You got to set them up on drip campaigns, et cetera. And you want to make sure that it's done correctly. So I'd say 25, 50 max. On our team, we have a top 60 account. So our agents are not allowed to have more than 60, people in their system at any given time, because what we've found, one is we don't want them to be lead hoarders, right? And two, anything it used to be a top 100, and we found that they weren't able to stay on top of their follow-up consistently. And you make your money in the follow-up, right? A lot of times people aren't just going to answer the phone, yes, come on out on the very first call. There's exceptions. It happens. It feels great, and you wish there was more of them.
Yeah.
But you've got to build that. You got to date them, and then they got to agree to come out, right? So with this lady, I already texted her, let her know, hey, have a great time in California on your family reunion. We'll be here when you get back. And she's already responded, and texted back. I said, look, save my number in your phone, right? I'm going to text you, save it. Don't answer the other ones, because it's those 30 other real estate agents. You don't need to talk to them. You've already talked to me. And make sure that you tell them what you need them to hear, and tell them what to do, right? Because if not, then there's no expectation set. Like,
Exactly.
hey, I'm going to call you in 2 weeks when you get back. I want to hear all about your family reunion, and then we're gonna determine and discuss, is selling your home right now the best thing for you?
Yep.
That's the best way to do it every time. And I think the advantage, too, that a lot of people don't think about, because new real estate agents are probably chasing every commission at first.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing to consider, too, is you've gotten a little bit deeper in this, or you're looking to build out your own database as a seasoned agent, or you're thinking about joining a team. A seasoned database is, because that's what allows you guys to do the top 60, right? Because people hear that and like, why would I do 60 leads on their team? That's ridiculous. There's 60 good leads, right? There's 60 leads that it's not all brand new leads that are just the beginning of the nurture process.
There's 44,000 other leads.
That's what I'm saying. Like Brian and I just essentially like opened up a Hopper account that I think's got 10,000 leads in it right now that are being pounded by 2 specific people through drip campaigns and ISAs and those types of things. That's just going to spit out appointments that the agents don't have to worry about. And the agents, the plan was originally to allow them to jump back in there, but I think now that we have ISAs, probably keep them out. But either way, having a seasoned database is huge, and you're not going to get that if you're not figuring out some way to generate leads and keep it populated. And the other thing I would say, when you have that 10-month-old lead that you're scared to call because they didn't answer the first time and then you forgot about them, those are the best ones to call, because exactly what we're talking about. Those people 95% of the time are not ready to talk to you when they came in 10, 12 months ago. They might actually be ready now.
Yeah, and if you've built rapport with them, and that's what's so important about having those follow-up systems. Like, you should hear Matt circle prospect. It's the coolest thing in the world. Like, because I mean, even me, I'm very, very just scripted when I circle. I only like talking to you guys. I don't like talking to other people. So I'm very scripted on the phone, right? And if I don't get an appointment, then I'm just moving on. Matt will literally just ring, and he's like, hey, I just sold a house near you. Just wanted to reach out and say what's up. I wanted to meet more people in the neighborhood. Like, do you care if I call you once every 3 months and maybe send you some stuff about real estate? And people are like, no, that sounds cool. And he's like, all right, well, I'm also having a barbecue on Saturday. You want to? Like, no.
He's like, you want to be my pen pal?
Yeah, right. He's just so unbelievably inviting and so non-pressing that it gets people into our world, and then they just start seeing us in other places. And when those people are ready, he's the dude that they call. And just because we've built those systems and built that ecosystem, so we don't have to just be pounding it all the time and find those people that are ready to go right now.
And I'm not going anywhere. That's the other thing, too, is I think a lot of other people have a ripcord or an exit strategy for this. And maybe due to lack of options or maybe lack of confidence, I'm not going anywhere.
That's the thing. When you burn the boats, man, you've got to be long
Yeah,
term.
if it's not this, I'm slinging drinks again, and I'm not interested.
You're getting too old for that. You're past your prime.
I'm not going back.
You're like an old stripper.
I'm not going back there, dude.
So, I mean, I think kind of to kind of close this getting leads topic up, it's look, getting leads is easy. It's kind of mastering whatever craft you're going to go. Is it going to be expires? Is it for sale by owners? Are you just going to master your database in your sphere? If it is, I'm sure, then call them. You got leads.
The thing is,
you have numbers in your cell phone. Those are leads.
You can add as many lead generation sources as you want, right? We've got probably 20 right now, but we've built systems around each one before we moved on to the next, right? If it's expired, don't just become really, really good at calling expireds because you'll never have any leverage over that, right? Get really good at putting a system in place so that when you're calling expireds, you have incredible follow-up systems, right? Once that's in place, now you've leveraged your time back out. Now you can go get good at Facebook ads, right? And build an ecosystem around that, right? What happens to your Facebook ads, leads whenever they come in? Then you start to tack on lead sources. But if you're trying to do 20 things at once with no systems in place, you're never going to do any of them very well.
Yep.
And let's transition. Who here loves hiring and interviewing and training, admin and staff?
You know, the stupidest thing about this job is that I'm required to hire somebody to help me do a job I cannot handle. Like, how much sense does that make to have me the person who needs to hire the person who needs to fix me?
That's really it. It's funny. We're talking because Matt, we're in the process of interviewing executive assistants for Matt. And we're talking about just kind of prerequisites and things like that. And we had a really candid conversation about it. He's like, I need somebody who can come into an interview and tell me what it is that the job is supposed to be. Because I don't even know what it is. If I knew what it was, I wouldn't need somebody.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I mean, look, that is other than the getting leads question, I think that's the biggest struggle for growing agents, right? Whether you're solo or building your team out, the number one frustration is in their staff support that they hire, right? Because look, what ends up happening, right? You get all excited. You hire an assistant. You're like, holy shit, this is going to be great. They're going to do all the things I don't want to do. But then you don't train them. Like, you're just like, here you go. Here's my pile of junk.
Fix it.
Figure it out, fix it, organize it, and make me more efficient.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be over here. I'm not even coming in the office. Like, you got to be here. I'm not coming in. I'm actually just going to sit at home and just watch TV and just tell me how much money we're making.
Yeah. I would say this. When you're hiring an admin, so as far as actionable advice goes, identify the things that make you money. Do an audit of everything that you do every week. Identify the things that actually make you money, and then start to leverage that to an assistant in steps, right? So the things that make you money, there's really only 5 things, right? Setting appointments, going on appointments, signing agreements, negotiating contracts, and going to closings if you go to closings, right? If you're doing anything besides that, it's something that should eventually be leveraged, right? And so literally the person you're looking for as far as an admin doesn't need you to be like step-by-step hands-on. This is like, you need to hire somebody, and this is going to take a while, right? Your admin, and from people that have built teams, they'll tell you bad hires are expensive and time-consuming, and it's crazy bad to hire the wrong people. The admin that you're looking for, the assistant or transaction coordinator or whatever that you're looking for, doesn't need you to tell them step-by-step what to do. They need you to tell them what you're going to do, and then they'll figure out what else you need, right? And so that's sort of generic advice, but that's probably the best way that I can describe it, is do an audit of everything that needs to be done in your business, figure out what it is that only you can do, and then hire your admin around what else needs to be done. And the great thing is, if you find the right person, when you find the right person, and then you continue to expand from there, that person will be the one that trains the rest of your team.
That's the thing. And I heard Matt Fedek say that at some sort of class he taught that I went to, and he was like, I made the right hire on admin the first time.
He hired an admin after he did 6 transactions.
Yeah, and then he essentially, that admin hired their replacement, and he hasn't had to hire, because he made the right hire the first time.
Yep.
I did not. I tried to go on the cheap twice, first off, right? So I will say, one, I think the virtual assistant is an amazing opportunity.
Yep.
If you know what you are looking for. I did not know the first 2 times. I was being sold by the company that this person over here was going to do exactly what I wanted for less than $6 an hour, which turned out to not be the case. But it was a perfect exercise in me not being able to even start to begin to understand what I really needed. So I made that mistake twice, and then I did the expensive one. I actually brought somebody in who I figured they were going to do exactly what Nick was talking about. At that time, my lead generation, I was still an individual agent. The majority of my business was coming through Sphere and just kind of my organic growth, which was great, but I did not have any business having an admin at that point.
Yep.
And I brought in somebody who was actually a friend, and it trashed the friendship too, which sucked, because I was broke twice during that experience and like literally couldn't pay my admin, which you want to talk about horrifyingly embarrassing, right? Like not being able to pay somebody who's went to work for you, right? But I think the biggest mistake that I made was I didn't have any kind of clear vision in what I needed. I was lying to myself about what I was really good at in my business, and I was taking a lot of credit for shit that was just natural talent, which is nice, but it wasn't getting me anywhere. And so I struggled a lot at first with hiring the proper admin. And I will say, even to this day, I still have never done it effectively. I tripped and fell through partnership with you into the world's greatest admin, right? When it comes to
Undisputed.
when it just comes to what is needed for me specifically in that role, right?
Yep.
Like the team now has a director of operations and all of that stuff that with you and those types of things. But for the day-to-day stuff that I need, if I was to lose that person and the time leverage, and Corey Mills and a couple of, or who was it?
Corey Mills.
Yeah. He asked a question. A couple other people were like, "I've heard you say you did the wrong admin hire a couple of times. What's different now?" I have somebody who fully understands what it takes to make me more productive.
Yep.
I don't have to go to Lady and explain to her like what needs to happen next. Her training has already happened, and I kept cheaping out on the admin thing, trying to save money, and I was getting cheap help. Right? Like I wasn't getting anybody who had any experience.
Exactly.
Lady's worked all over in this business in multiple avenues. She knows exactly how to handle every aspect of it.
Well, and that's the thing. You don't want to hire people that you need to tell what to do. You want to hire people that will tell you what you need to do.
I will close 9. I'm going to close 9 deals in July, and 3 of those are strictly because of her and the time I get back.
Yep.
Right? And that's what a good admin should do. They should put deals on the board.
Right.
You shouldn't worry about the ability to pay them because they should pay for themselves and then some.
Exactly. I'll give you an example. When we first hired somebody to take over at this empire that is the only real estate podcast worth listening to, right? We have somebody who does our social media and all that type of stuff now. I didn't really know how to pay her because it's different than our real estate business and stuff. So
Monopoly money,
right? And so we agreed on what she was getting paid and all that type of stuff. And then she was emailing me. She's like, "Hey, how are you setting up, my direct deposit and stuff like that?" And I emailed back. I was like, "That's not my job. You tell me how to pay you." Right? Yeah. And I knew I hired the right person when she was like, "Okay, here's how I need to be paid." And I was like, "Cool, done. I'll create a thing. It's done." Right? Yep. Like I'm not going to sit here all day and figure out how to 1099 you. I don't know that. It's going to take too much of my time. You tell me how to do it. Yep. And then I'll do it. Right. Yep. So like that was like just an aha moment for me.
And look, that's the best thing. I've had a hiring horror story, but I hired the right admin the first time.
Yeah.
What ended up happening, so I hired Stephanie, who, she's our rock. We have Stephanie and Elizabeth, who are 2 amazing women, and with Stephanie, she is a master at getting shit done, right? She negotiates all of our listing contracts. She negotiates the repairs. She makes sure that people are followed up with timely, that are clients. She makes sure that when new listings come in, Duncan handles that, but she also wants to make sure that she oversees all of our admin side. So she's running our listing manager, she's running our courier, who's also our photographer, and with that, as you grow, you always want to see, all right, is there opportunity for her to continue to grow to a bigger position, and also, what else is out there. So we also hired at one time a person that had a master's degree. And had run a high-level business, and we fell in love with the education, the higher-level education. And this person came in, and we needed her at the time because Stephanie was on maternity leave. So we needed her at the time because our business, trust me, go and see if the lady ever goes out on maternity leave. See how business.
Dun.
But see how
I've already got 2 dogs.
Yeah,
that's about as
see
much
how
responsibility
business
as I'll
runs
take.
when they're on maternity leave.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, I have to jump back in on this, right? And so,
can I raise the kid instead?
Yeah. So we had this MBA high level person, and they didn't last 3 weeks because this is a different style business. It's super fast paced. It's a lot of times not professional, and she ended up quitting because she said this is the most unprofessional business, not ours, but just agents in general, and how everything gets done.
Expect?
Yeah.
Yes. So it's really getting in and finding, and what I have with Stephanie is this is now 9-10 years worth of training, and it's not always perfect, right? And so you then go back and make sure that you can, you're always making them better in their position, and they're bettering themselves. So she's now taking on and learning a lot more on our investment side because, she wants to eventually, if need be, if anything ever happened to like Duncan or whatever, she can then step in and run our property management, et cetera.
Right.
These are people that take on more and ask for more. That's when you know you have a good hire.
Yep.
Not someone who's like, nope, that's not my job.
And I think people out there need to realize that. I think also what we all have to realize, and what other people building teams or people thinking about even growing themselves, it's a small percentage of people who are accepting that responsibility. You are going to have more people say, nah, I am not interested in doing it that way, right?
That's fine. Yeah.
So it's the same thing as leads with hiring. Don't feel like you have this massive failure rate because people are opting out. If you are the one who is selling 30, 40, 50 houses a year and they're selling 2, guess whose opinion fucking matters?
Yeah, well,
not theirs, right? Like, so don't doubt yourself when you have to make those decisions, because it doesn't mean everything you're doing is right, but there are certain situations where you're more right than the other people, right?
And don't cheap out, right? Yeah. Like Stephanie is well taken care of.
Yes,
but in the beginning she wasn't, right? I mean, we were brand new, we couldn't afford an assistant, and we fumbled our way through.
Yep.
But we made sure that she's well taken care of today, because she's an integral part of our organization.
Yeah.
And so the too many times people want to reap all the rewards and pay their staff peanuts. And it's like, no, that's not cool.
Yep.
You got to take care of your people that are actually running behind the scenes and making you look good.
100%. I can't wait to get to like the Sir Hant Frederick level where I have so much business I get to ride in the backseat.
Yuri.
That'd be amazing.
Driving him around.
Yeah, I want Yuri so bad.
Before we go, I think we're about to be out. Can I share another billionaire idea with you guys?
Like Aziz Ansari right now.
Here's what's going to happen.
Eclipse. It's open 2 nights a week. $5,000 cover charge.
Right. This is going to take a while to build, right? So what we're going to do, I'm going to buy 100 acres somewhere amazing, right? And I'm going to start advertising way in advance. I'm going to build the most amazing theme park the world has ever seen. It's going to be like, honestly, the rides are going to be hyperbolic in nature, like almost like that can't even exist. This is going to be so amazing. It's going to take 3 or 4 years to build. And so I'm really going to build it, right? I'm going to market the crap out of it. People are going to be so excited. People are going to be regretting that they were like already teenagers when I started marketing, because they're going to be like, I'm going to be in my 30s by the time this even opens, but it's going to be so amazing. I still want to come.
Right.
It's going to be small city-sized theme park. It's going to be incredible. Breaking all sorts of records.
What do you mean small?
We're putting out a big city. It's going to be a big city-sized theme park, right? We're putting out press releases of the test rides. They're all breaking world records. It's all verified, right? So if you come, you're basically in the Guinness Book of World Records just for being there. It's going to be incredible. The night before the opening, right? And then there's going to be billboards everywhere. Everyone's going to know about this.
The buildup is so huge for this. This better be the best idea ever.
It's all going to be gated off. It's going to be very Willy Wonka. You don't really know what's going on back there, but you've just seen the marketing, right? Everybody's going to buy their tickets in advance. So I'm going to be like, look, if you buy your tickets in advance, it's only going to be $2,000 a day to come. Yeah. So I assume we're going to get 1 million people showing up for the grand opening. The night before the grand opening, I'm going to have a small army of contractors come in and disassemble everything and take it away.
There's not a single $1 billion idea he has with people ending up happy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then in the morning, bright and early, we're going to do a very extreme home makeover-esque move that bus sort of reveal. There will be nothing there. And then as there's nothing there, you will realize that you see no more commercials, Facebook ads, billboards. It's as if it never existed.
Sounds like Fry.
And I'm never going to speak of it again. And no marketing will go out. It will be as if this never happened.
Isn't that what that documentary Fry or whatever that thing is?
It'll be like the Fire Festival, except it will just publicly vanish, right? And then people will be left wondering, are they crazy for thinking this ever was a thing? Because it was so over the top. The rides were so monstrous and hyperbolic. This could have never existed. Why did I buy into this in the first place? Of course this park wasn't real.
Yeah.
So I'm basically going to mentally abuse millions of people and then deny it.
I think it'd be better if he built this park and then nobody showed up.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I mean, I've got some great ones I won't ever share out on record, on air, but it has to do, one's a circus theme with a tiny Ferris wheel. And another one involves death row.
Okay.
So
I just don't sit around and ponder this stuff.
No,
enough.
I do. I mean, these are truly death row and pay-per-view. These are truly, one's at least $100 million idea. The other one's probably like $100 billion.
So join TourAcademy.com.
So here's where we need your help, folks.
And Nick will
These guys have big dreams, and so we need you to fund them. So TourAcademy.com is where you can go to get on the wait list for, truthfully, a really super badass Like, we talk about it every time, but it's because we're proud of it. Like, the stuff that we are putting out there, it's not surface level stuff. There are plenty of coaches in our market and other markets who are doing cool things, but they're not selling real estate.
Yep.
I can assure you that there's nobody who is willing to put as much on the table as we are about what we're doing in our businesses. And it's launching in like 2 weeks. Brian gave us a deadline for Nick and I's videos, which we assure we will get done. And it's ready to go, and it looks sweet.
And it's hard. I'm going to tell you, like, because I want to make sure that this is as detailed, because when we start sharing this, sometimes we skip over things. We want to make sure it's very detailed. My is prospect like a pro. You want to find out how. I just got that lady who hung up on me, and she answered the phone, and now I've got a follow-up appointment with her, et cetera. So, I want to make sure that people can do that and make money, and then they can come for $97 a month. They can start implementing and making.
That's the thing. And this is going to be a war of attrition for us. I mean, if you do the math, we're not making a ton of money off this. And
that's really not even the point. As silly as that sounds, it's not the point.
Yeah. I mean, we could be one of those companies that's charging you $500 a month for some hypothetical, very, very surface level stuff. We are charging $97 a month for everything that we do. Right. There are over 400 transactions a year sitting in this room right now. And for less than $100 a month, less than a cup of coffee a day, you're going to find out how we do it, right?
I hate that analogy.
Less than a cup of coffee a day for those of you that drink
just
coffee.
Just one closing pays for it.
Like Chauncey said, actual death row or the record label. I like this because we actually talked about this the other day, Chauncey. We were like, we were going to do a marketing video for Tour Academy, and it was like, if you want to get,
it's going to be the 94 Source Awards.
The 94 Source
where
Awards,
Suge goes on stage and calls
the
out
producer,
Puffy for all up in the videos.
Come to Tour Academy.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I'm still going to do it.
I mean, we can start a beef with all the other gurus out there.
There you go. That's what we can do. We're feeling squirrely. Let's end this on this note, and I'll have Derek take us out. To all of you who know what's going on, tag who you want us to start a social media beef with.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll stir it up.
Yeah. Let's stir the pot.
One of us is definitely getting shot in Vegas.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys coming in. TourAcademy.com. Check it out, and then come back next week.
Join the Facebook group.
Join it. Sucks.
Take us out, man.